Hi, welcome, welcome to another session of our Success with People Insights. I'm laughing, but today it's going to be going into deep waters. Going into deep waters. Once you start to discuss leadership, then there's going to be some controversy around it. So today we examine the subject is empathetic, or what we would call S-style leadership in our discerning model of communication and leadership. Is S-style leadership viable in the current environment? Hi, I'm Trevor E.S. Smith. I'm with the Success with People Academy, and I invite you to participate in this insight session with us. So, what is the context? The context, let me share this with you. So, for a couple of decades, actually, and with so many different um, interventions with teams and leaders and supervisors, where we roll out our discerning model of communication and leadership, which is basically building a body of knowledge around the DISC framework: dominance, influence, steadiness, conscientiousness. When we go through the workshop, by the time we get to S, having done the D style, the dominance, driven, direct, decisive, and then the innovative, creative, um, I style. When we get to the S style and we start to see um, empathy and caring and willingness to sacrifice self and importance of team and consensus, inevitably there's a hand that goes up that says, so Trevor, can an S-style individual lead? Can they be the CEO of an organization? Inevitably. And so that's what is inspiring this look again, because that rumbling continues now, especially with all of the upheavals and the disruption. Can this empathetic leadership style, this style leadership, is it out of step with this highly competitive and rapidly changing environment? That's the question that we have before us. And so, in this Success with People Insights, I want to challenge that point of view, that perspective. And so, not only will we share how relevant and valuable S-style leadership is in the current environment, but we'll also do a bit of a comparison, because when you speak to individuals, they seem to think that this style is the ultimate leader. If you have dominance and compliance or conscientiousness, that's the leader. I think people go back to school where the teacher that they were most afraid of would be seen as a leader. And that's, right now, you could see the global environment, which is moving more towards that kind of leader. So maybe this is timely that we look at whether that kind of dominance driven, dictatorial, to some extent, leadership is more valuable in the current environment. That's the question that we have. There is a possibility, a feasibility for you to type in the chat if you want to scream at me. But let's move forward. So, as a student of behaviors, when Collins put out his Good to Great, it came clearly after In Search of Excellence, which everybody gravitated towards and to say, whoa, look at these results. Here are some companies that were doing some wonderful things. Collins came a lot afterwards and had a lot longer look at organizations. Now, he never, ever used the word, style or, any use that framework at all. However, I see a lot of characteristics that would be aligned with use of the S-Style toolkit. All right. So I'm pushing forward to say Collins' good to great book sort of embraced this empathetic S-Style traits. So we want to look, one of them would be transformational leadership, this visionary idea, looking way out there into the future, and motivating and inspiring team members to come along. Right? So there were these long-term goals and this strategy that would consider the people side, the well-being and the growth of the team members. Yeah. So also there would be controlled risk-taking, innovation, yes, because you needed to innovate as well, but it's not a quick fix, anything goes approach. So that was part of what we saw in those companies that did well over a longer period of time. Then this concept that Collins raised up, the idea of level 5 leadership, which to me is a key understanding of how S-Style leaders can be are successful in today's environment. The idea of a blend of humility with a determination, a fierce resolve that the organization will succeed. Not necessarily me, but we're going to put things on a path that the entity will succeed. That is it. So I'm humble. It's not me. I'm not calling all the shots. I'm not making all the decisions. And then, I'm not looking for all the credit or any of the credit, actually. But we're going to have it. So I'm humble. But, man, don't test my resolve. Other thing was that they would build greatness through, talk about the personal humility already, and that professional will. So there was empathy and an understanding of the needs and concerns of the people that they led. So that's the difference. Yeah. So when we talk about submissiveness and the idea of collaboration and consensus, do not mistake that for a lack of commitment to succeed, to drive to succeed. So what is the application then of this? Is that as leaders, we should cultivate this level 5 concept of looking outside of self. So we're fostering humility, we're fostering resilience, which is a key ingredient for success in this time, and a commitment to excellence. Yeah. So that's the first thing. And we can do this, right, by working to build trust. So that involves listening to others. It involves an understanding, a willingness to wait a little bit until we can bring others, to where we are. Those are factors that would enable long-term sustainability. There's also the empowerment of others. So we are so careful about sustainability that we spend time making sure that the workforce is developed, that people are empowered, people are enabled to make decisions. Yeah. So that's the basis of the success. So let's take a look at Tom Peters' In Search of Excellence. And I just want to look at some aspects of it. So obviously the companies couldn't get to the point of being excellent if we only looked at one side. But just for the sake of our discussion today, there were some pitfalls that were present in the companies that were identified and the leaders that were identified in search of excellence. So critics, remember, not Trevor, okay, critics argued that the leaders that were celebrated, people like Chainsaw Dunlop, exemplify a short-term mindset that prioritizes the financial gains. Stock market, we need to get up on the stock market as against long-term sustainability. Remember the cost cutting? Remember what was downsizing? Afterwards, people got politically correct and started to call it right sizing. But there was a slew period. Remember that period where nobody's job was safe? Yeah. So that was it. The whole idea there. And that is a this-style mentality, actually, that let's get there, let's get to the finish line. And so that aggressive cost cutting without full consideration of the potential impact on morale and how it would land with participants in the process. That's part of the in search of excellence scenario, which basically aligns, in my view, again using our discerning communication model, that aligns with this style thinking, this style behavior. So the book focuses on companies that excel. Great, wonderful. Look at the rise, look at the difference in terms of stock market success and financial performance. But that was at the expense of other key factors like employee engagement, which is a major issue, like innovation and long-term sustainability. So similarly then, they applauded and looked up to this style leader, the directive leaders. There might be a tendency to prioritize financial metrics, shareholder value, yeah, sure, and over other things like well-being and sustainability. That's a thought. Okay, so again, that's a thought. Okay, so let's do the work that we're supposed to do, which is to look then at understanding empathetic style lead, a different perspective, so that we can answer the question: are they relevant? Can they be viable in the current environment? And so that's what we want to look at. So empathy, yes, lies at the heart of style leadership, and they tend to prioritize people as against tasks, and they want to foster collaboration. Let's have good, strong, dynamic teams. That's the whole idea. And so listening is key. Listening is key. Being able to stand in the shoes of their team members, trying to understand where they're coming from, understanding the needs of others, creating trust. And part of creating trust is to be transparent, yeah, and providing psychological safety for people. Those are some of the keys that are at the heart of style leadership. So here's the big question then. Is they're making a big impact at this time? Is that kind of mindset, that kind of leadership valued in these times? And in our work with sales people, we talk about handling objections, and we say one of the things is to reverse it. And that kind of empathetic approach, whereas you might say, hey, Things are moving fast, and everything is disrupted. It is precisely for that reason why you need empathy. It is for that precise reason why you need leaders who are standing in the shoes of the team members. That's what it is. And style leaders cultivate environments where people feel seen, heard. I have a voice. I'm appreciated. I'm just not just a number. And that then starts to address the vexed issue of low employee engagement. I've been tracking low employee engagement now for 2 decades, where it is below 30%. What it means is that 2 out of every 3 of your colleagues turns up at work and they're just going through the motion. They're not engaged. And this is statistics done primarily by Deloitte. And they have been trying, how do we get people more engaged? And now, even after COVID, it's a lot worse. I would believe that you probably have 20% of persons who are engaged. So that's what we need right now. In the midst of this disruption and uncertainty and change, we need somebody who is there that you can come and talk to. We need to give people a sense of belonging. That's the key. That's why this type of leadership is so important, because people want to belong. People want to feel as if they're getting up in the morning and going somewhere where they're appreciated, and that they're not just going to get a memo to say that this department is no longer right, done, went out. Yeah, okay. So when we contrast them, let us do this. And one of the things that we want to do, I'm going to look at 3 case studies, if you want, 3 scenarios where we compare the two, so you could see the value. And let me jump ahead, say if you're going to leave me, I am not advocating one or the other. I am strongly suggesting that leaders should look at, when we talk about 4 basic bags of tools, 4 sets of behaviors that we use to lead or to navigate through life, and we should seek out the behaviors that best fit every situation. So you should be going into the 4 bags of tools, the 4 bags of behaviors at different times. I don't want a leader who is saying, okay, this is me, I'm dominant, and therefore that's the only set of behaviors I will use. That's not helpful. So I'm not going to come here to say, oh, we should choose S style against D style. I'm saying, hey, wake up. Nothing is wrong with S style. Yes, as a matter of fact, it is to be valued. And there are tools in each of the 4 toolkits: dominance, inducement, steadiness, conscientiousness, that we should use at the appropriate time. That's critical. All right, but for the answering the question, I need to just move ahead. So the empathetic S-style leadership, as we talked about, embodies collaboration and focus on people issues. The directive D-style leadership is more associated with results and the accomplishment of tasks. Right. When it comes to the issue of resilience, they both achieve resilience, but in different ways. The S-style relies on having a closely knit team, sacrificial commitment of team members. Those are some of the qualities that help S-style leadership to have that organization be more resilient. How we handle, how we go through tough times is how we hang together and we commit to making it happen, to get it through. That's how S-style leadership deals with resilience. D-style approaches resilience in another kind of way. We need to be swift. We need to be decisive. We need to move ahead of what's going to happen. So that's it. And of course, a bullheadedness set of determination. So the idea is Rather than be disrupted, let us disrupt. And so if we get ahead, we can be resilient and we will survive. So two different approaches. Not better, not worse, just different. All right. Okay. All right. So as I promised, I'm going to look at three scenarios. We want to look at the different approaches to conflict management and look at the upside, the downside. The style approach to conflict could be to wait, so something else. Let me see how it's going to play out. Then they might, sort of get involved in terms of pulling somebody aside and trying to talk to them to see if they can mediate and sort the thing out. One of the keys would be to make sure that we protect harmony. That's nothing needs to disrupt, the harmony. So that is okay, good. The only problem with it is that there might be a downside in that we don't actually deal fully with issues that are on the table. So sometimes there might be, while we're waiting, we don't have that difficult conversation, and we can tend to cover over some of the conflict that is there in order to maintain harmony. But that could actually hinder the resolution of the underlying issues. So we're sort of sweeping things under the carpet, if you would say that. And that might actually then have this unresolved tension and simmering conflicts, which one day might explode. What is the D-style approach? The D-style approach is that, no, there's a conflict, man. Let us deal with it. Yeah. And then when we're dealing with it, we're not leaving out anything. We're putting out everything on the table, and we're going to resolve this. Yeah, we're going to find out an answer. So yes, so the decisiveness and the results orientation might actually lead to resolution. However, there might be a trampling of emotions in that process, and we might actually get an answer that's not a full answer. So in the moment, it might seem to be okay, but there might be something arising afterwards. So the long-term sustainable solution is not there yet. All right, so that's the conflict. Let's just look at feedback. Really, development, but is really primarily feedback. The S-style approach to feedback is empathy. So I'm going to make sure that I carefully craft everything that I'm saying so that you're not hurt. Yeah, your feelings are very important. So yes, people are being held accountable in a way, but in some instances, the constructive criticism, the holding people accountable in a strong and firm way might not be there. And so performance might suffer. What is the D-style approach? The directive leader is going to be very result-oriented. And so feedback is, hey, Trevor, you better pull up your socks. You're not doing this right. And we're going to call a spade a spade. It is not a shovel, it's a spade. So that's it. Boom. Straight. You know exactly where I'm coming from, and you have no doubt about it. The problem with that is that, yes, I get the message, but it might hit me so hard that I'm demotivated and I feel disengaged. That's the challenge. So you see, there's an up and a downside, and so we need to be careful then as to, rooting for one style or deciding to hold firm to one style of leadership. Go back to my suggestion, which is that we should be looking at pulling behaviors from all behavioral styles in order to make the right decisions every time. So what about innovation and creativity? Yes, doubting Thomas, the S-style leader can in fact and create a supportive environment for innovation and creativity. Yeah, they want to put some guardrails about it so it's not high risk. But one big problem might be that when you're in innovative territory and you're trying to create new things, it's not always going to be consensus. There are, so sometimes in order for the process to move forward, there's not enough time to pull everybody together, to have a meeting of the minds and to bring everybody into the same space. Sometimes you have to call it. And that's where the S-style individual has a problem, because the S-style thinking is, if I overlook Trevor's objection, am I saying he's not as smart as we are? But sometimes you have to move forward. And that's where the hard problem is with S-style leadership when it comes to innovation and creativity, is that unwillingness to call it, to say, yeah, I'm the leader and I'm taking the responsibility and I'm saying this is it. So this emphasis on collaboration and consensus is okay, but it could lead to indecisiveness or bringing the product to market, in which case you might lose your first mover advantage. All right. So does the D style have a solution? Okay. Yeah, the D style has a solution in that they will call it. They will say, yeah, this is it. I'm going to back myself to make the right call. So I'm going to make the right call. Here is the downside with what we have with D style, is that the D style is interested, ready, keen to go to market. And so once they have something that is marketable, ready, then they are going to say, hey, let's move with this. Whereas others are saying, no, man, we can make a better mousetrap. Let us wait. And by the way, if you are in the tech sector, that's what the people do now. They make an announcement, right? The product is not fully developed yet, but they make the announcement so that you know it's coming. So wait. That's what Microsoft says. I'm coming with this. Wait. Right? So that part of it is that while I'm trying to, bring the thing up, except the mousetrap, I'm alerting my customers to say I'm coming. But that's where the problem is that this time might actually shut down further innovation because of the need to go. Because if you go to market early, then stock prices are going to go up, and we go back to in search of excellence. Interesting stuff. All right. But what am I saying then? I'm saying that I need to find a balance. Yes. And my balance is not to, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. What I'm suggesting is that we stop thinking about either or, and look at and. And my thing would be, let us look at the framework that we use. And you don't have to use that, but the framework that we use is dominance, influence, steadiness. We are saying that we have these 4 bags of tools, these 4 sets of behaviors, many nuances in the things, but you classify them into dominance. You classify this type of behavior into influence. You classify this type of behavior into steadiness, and another set into conscientiousness. And I'm saying within each of these bags of nuanced behaviors, there is a behavior. There is a behavior that is appropriate for the given situation. What leaders must strive to do is to so open their minds, so put so much investment in understanding the framework that they are able to discipline themselves to go for the most appropriate behavior every time. That's a challenge, but that's where we want to go. Leadership is not a cakewalk. Leadership is difficult. All right. So we usually promise ourselves to get out of here within 30 to 35 minutes, within 35 minutes. So we're going to suggest that you look at what it is that I've been sharing, that we don't be caught up with one behavioral style, one behavioral approach, albeit that in some circumstances a certain kind of prioritized behavior is required. So let us not, if we are in diagnostics and so on, you definitely want to have leadership that leans heavily towards compliance, conscientiousness, system structure, so those are some of the things that we want to look at. tell you a little bit about us. We deploy this model that we're talking about, the discerning model of communication and leadership, and we use it to help us work with individuals, teams, and organizations to be their best selves, right? And yes, we are franchise holders for Extended Disc on the Revolutionary Things platform. If you have not been exposed to the Think Playground, you need to look at that, right? Where you can look at your behavioral assessments and pull from a vast library of competencies and match Trevor, see how he matches against this behavioral competence. And if you have a team, you can actually put the team in and see how individuals are matched. Or if you're doing recruitment, you can again also see how the candidates that you have, how they match up against key behavioral competencies that you would want to have them display in the job. We are also a technology company, and so we have a number of niche technology solutions like our Spike strategic performance improvement and knowledge enabler, which is a multifaceted approach that also includes a e-competency framework, fully developed competency frameworks. Right? So let's talk. Send me an email, info@successwithpeople.org, info@successwithpeople.org, and let's talk. Content, put a lot of content, invest a lot of time in developing sessions like this and delivering. And these sessions, these insights, we used to call them live casts, are available on YouTube. If you go to our YouTube channel, Extended Disc Solutions /videos, you would see a series of these live casts. We also prepare a newsletter, weekly newsletter, Success with People. It's on LinkedIn. We have a leadership development club on LinkedIn where you can get a lot of this material. The club is available to you. It's not one of these advertising platforms, so you have to ask to be let in, and then we look at you and say, yeah, okay, fine, you look like you'll be a sound member. So please reach out. Let's talk. Send me an email at info@successwithpeople.org, and let's talk. Let me hear what's top of mind for you, and I'll be sure to answer and follow up on the newsletter and these live casts. Thank you, and out of here.